You think that GLP-1s are going to get you to your dream body in the fastest way, but they're actually going to do the opposite. And when you understand that on, first of all, a psychological front, and then as a byproduct on a biological front, it's going to change the way that you think about these drugs entirely. And hopefully by the end of this video, you either never contemplate the idea of using them again, or you stop using them immediately. Now, I want to address a few things before we go into this, that there are several upsides of these GLP-1s. And by me saying they don't work would be me categorically lying to you, because they obviously do. You obviously know somebody else that's used the GLP-1, you might have used it yourself, and you see that these people are losing weight at a very rapid rate. So, the reasons why they do work, very, very simple. They do, in fact, suppress your appetite. And when something suppresses your appetite, you're less inclined to eat food. As a byproduct, you are naturally going to lose fat. That's indisputable. Secondly, and this is mainly the most important part about GLP-1s, is the insulin downregulation. Now, this, one would argue, the appetite suppressant side, is nowhere near as important as the insulin downregulation. Because one thing in which I want you to realise is that insulin is the main thing in which you want to manage during this process. Why? Because insulin is the fat storing hormone. The hormone that is literally responsible for your body storing fat. When you can lower your insulin levels, you're going to lower the amount of fat in which that your body stores. And there's obviously more things that go in line with this. Obviously the fact that it gives you fast results, it's easy and accessible, and it's commonly accepted now are massive things. But I did want to dive into this fast results part because this cannot be glossed over. And when you start to understand this, you can then start to understand the detrimental side of this as well. So the fact that the results are fast actually cultivates something inside you called the winning feeling. Now, if you've read Psycho-Cybernetics by a guy called Dr. Maxwell Maltz, he talks about this, and the winning feeling is that feeling that you are inevitably going to succeed at what you're trying to do, which is very powerful, by the way, because what the winning feeling actually starts to do is turn into momentum. And out of all the drugs on the planet, momentum is probably the most powerful one. You know how easy something feels when you're already in the process of doing it and getting consistent results. You feel like more and more wins come effortlessly. When you lose 1 kilo, the second one seems to fall the fastest, and then the third, and then the fourth, and before you know it, you're on this speed roll of winning, right? And this is one of the most fantastic parts about GLP-1, is the fact that you do feel good. You do feel like you're achieving something, and then naturally what that does is that creates a spike of motivation, right? Motivation increases, and as motivation increases, you want to do the actions more and more in order to get you there. However, motivation as a whole we will cover, and we'll understand why that's actually a false placebo in of itself. But it's easy to see why people steer towards these drugs, because on the surface level they do work. However, when you understand that they don't actually fix the problem, they just put a band-aid over it, you're going to rethink this process entirely. Because the reasons why they don't work, and we're going to look at obviously the physiological effects, and then we'll dive into the psychological ones, which are the most important. The main one on a physiological front is that it does slowly destroy your health. Now, every single one of the upsides here is also a downside, and that's one thing in which I want you to realise. Now, the slowly destroys your health part. The more and more in which you suppress your appetite, the less food in which you fuel your body, the less upregulated your metabolism is going to be. So the less regulated your hormones are going to be, the less regulated your metabolic, your thyroid, your testosterone, your estrogen, your progesterone production is, the slowly and slowly over time, this is going to come at the detriment of your health. And this is why you see a lot of people on these GLP-1s, you know, they crash their appetite entirely, and therefore their hair starts falling out, their nails become brittle, their skin becomes worse and worse. They destroy their gut health. It destroys your gut health because it slows down gastric emptying. That's why you feel full all the time, because it's slowing down how fast your gut is excreting the foods within it. You slow that process down, guess what? You start to damage the gut lining, you start damaging the gut lining, the gut microbiome as a whole, you will start to get sick because the gut is responsible for the majority of your immunology in your body. So it's slowly going to destroy your health. The more that you destroy your health, the worse your health gets, the harder fat loss gets in the long run, and also at the detriment of all of those things which are keeping you alive and functioning anyway. But the psychological effects of GLP-1 are actually the worst. And people don't realize this yet, because we look at everything through the lens of the body, but we fail to take into consideration the mind and the spirit. Now, we've all heard of mind, body, spirit, but we ignore it when it comes to this, and we ignore it when it comes to any sort of physical change. And one thing which I want you to drill into yourself is that your body is simply a reflection of your inner state. Now, all the actions in which you take on a physical front come from the mental front. Everything has an emotional charge behind it. Everything comes from a certain state in which you find yourself in. And when all we do is we focus on these physical things, we completely neglect the mental state in which precedes those physical actions occurring. So the first one, and this is a real big thing, and this is where everybody goes wrong, it completely destroys your belief system. It rewrites your belief system in a way in which is not productive to you achieving what you want to achieve. Because when we fall victim to appetite suppressant, fast results, making things easy, that's going to rewire your brain to naturally seek for those things. If we start to believe that the more in which we can crush our appetite, the less in which we can eat, the faster results in which we get, from that point moving forward, that's the approach in which is always going to be rewritten into your subconscious mind. Now, you can start to see how this manifests with eating disorders, right? Because if you believe that the less you eat, the faster you're going to get your result of fat loss, which is what everybody's trying to attain, you're going to eat less and less. And that's going to cause you to obsess over food. That's going to drive a very unhealthy relationship with food. And this is where we're going to run into issues like binge eating, from bulimia, from heavily restriction, because we believe that this is the only way in which we're going to get there. And that couldn't be any further from the truth. Our internal attachment is also going to come as a byproduct of our belief system to do with this, and as a result it's going to lead to lifelong reliance. Because what we're relying on as a belief system is that the more in which we can stop ourselves eating, the faster the result it is that we're trying to get. We can't do that without this, because this is doing that, and this is doing this. So as soon as you take this away, this also goes, and when this goes, your results go. You lose that winning feeling. You lose that momentum. And the amount of times I hear somebody say, oh, I'm just going to take this, and while I'm taking it, I'm going to build the habits. While I'm doing this, then when I come off, I'm going to develop the healthy habits afterwards, but that's not how it works. We're always instructed to be, do, have. You have to be the person that does the things to have the things in which you want. But what you're trying to do through a GLP-1 is actually do things in reverse, and you're saying, have, do, be. Once you have the body, you'll do the things and you'll be the person. But that's not how it works. You need to be the person first that does the things, and you will naturally have the body in which it is that you're looking to attain. So we're always doing things backwards with GLP-1s. We're leading with the body, but when we lead with the body, it inevitably stops us doing the work internally which we need to do, which is why we got in the position which we got into in the first place. Okay, and then like I said, this is a temporary fix. One thing in which you need to realise is that unless you change your internal state, you break the belief systems in which you have already, you're always going to end up back to where you are now. And that's why when you see people come off of these GLP-1s, they go back to where they were when they started. It's almost comedic. Somebody starts on a GLP-1 at around 100 kilos, they drop down to 70, they come off of it, and slowly over time, they're going to go back to that 100 kilo mark. And some people will find that then they go on it, they come off, they find themselves precisely where they were when they first started, which takes us over to what the problem actually is. Because insulin is a problem, but insulin is a problem because it's caused by a dysregulated nervous system. One thing in which you need to realize is that you don't get the body you want, you get the body in which you can accept. And your nervous system's job is very simple. It's to protect the narrative in which you feed yourself. Your unconscious mind, your subconscious mind, your nervous system, your identity, all the same things, don't actually understand what's good for you. You might consciously say, I need to eat that healthy meal with the balance of proteins, fats and carbs in order to get to where I want to get to. But on a subconscious level, you're going to start believing that the less you eat, the faster it is you're going to get there. So everything is actually happening beneath the surface, and all we're trying to do is treat what's going on the surface without realizing that that's a construct from everything that's happening underneath. Think about a plant. You can't destroy a plant by pulling it up from the top, you have to pull it out from the roots. And this is all that is happening right here. Because one thing in which we need to be crystal clear on, like I said at the beginning of this video, is that insulin is the problem. Insulin is a fat storing hormone, and we know that, but we are unsure of why it is being caused to be a problem in the first place. Now, like I said, I was going to explain this on a psychological level, but this also links to a physiological level. There's a direct link between the two. Thoughts literally do become things. And the reason why you've got the insulin problem is nothing to do with the fact that you're eating too much. It's actually due to the fact that you're chronically stressed because your nervous system is dysregulated. You can't hold that body in which you're looking to attain because your nervous system hasn't accepted it yet. And when you look at that physiologically, it's stress. You are subconsciously stressing all the time. You're finding your body in a sympathetic state. And the sympathetic state is your fight or flight response. When your body's in fight or flight, your body's going to spike insulin to give your body immediate energy, but it's going to do that repeatedly, therefore your insulin levels are chronically elevated. It always goes back to this right here. Your nervous system, your frequency, your identity. They're all the same thing. Frequency is essentially the energetic signature in which you're putting out into the world. It will then determine your belief system and everything in which you do and act from a subconscious level, right? Identity. This is who you truly believe that you are. This is the lens in which you see the world through. The exact same as this, the exact same as this, different axis. From an identity standpoint and a self-concept standpoint, you're going to start to adopt the belief system that you need this in order to achieve this, to achieve the outcome in which you're looking to attain. And this is why it's so damaging. Because consciously you can say to yourself, no, when I get here, I'm going to be fine. I'm going to have learned the habits. I'm going to do the things and I won't need it anymore. Subconsciously, you are going to be so reliant on this. Because this is what allowed this to then get you to where you are now. And like I said, when you come off of this, you're pulling this part of your identity away and you will go back to where you were when you first started. This is what people need to realize, okay? Because everything is energy. Everything is to do with the energy in which you're putting out into the world. If you're putting out an energetic signature that this isn't the case through your belief systems, you're not going to get it. And this is where people continuously go wrong. They try and paper over this internal work by taking a drug. And we need to realize that this is a drug. And a bit like alcohol or nicotine, or even the more extremes of that, cocaine, by trying to say you're trying to use a drug to get to an outcome and then say you're never going to be reliant on that drug anymore because you've got to the outcome is ridiculous. Why is alcohol so addictive? Well, because it lowers inhibition and it kind of numbs the pain in which you feel. This is going to work in the same way, because what this does is it removes the things which are stopping you getting to where you think you need to do to get you to where you want to get to in the first place. And this is why you literally see people rebound off of this stuff, because they never changed this. They never changed any of these issues because they never understood that they were the problem in the first place. And the more in which you rely heavily off of these things, the more it's going to reinforce the belief system which got you to where you were in the first place. So you've got two options, right? You can either change the internal narrative, allow your nervous system to be re-regulated again, and learn that this is not going to serve you, but a different narrative will do, of serving your body, of giving your body what it needs. And until you do that, you're never going to get there. And logically, let's think about it, because the message in which we preach when we take GLP-1's is that this doesn't matter. Nourishment doesn't matter. And what we think matters is punishment. And this is the energetic signature in which you're putting out into the world. By following a restrictive diet, you're basically saying, I'm not good enough to maintain this, therefore I need to restrict myself. I need to restrict my body. What happens when you say to your body you're restricting itself? It takes it on a subconscious level as punishment. And what happens when you think something is punishment? Your nervous system knows that. It's going to produce more stress. And as a byproduct, it's going to take you right back to where you were in the first place. You're going to see a spike in insulin, you're going to gain fat. And this is how people gain fat so quickly, because their insulin is constantly elevated. The only thing GLP-1 is doing is down-regulating that. But when you take that away, you're basically taking away the bandage, which is stopping the breakage of the wound expelling everywhere. Instead of just constantly putting a bandage over your problem, you need to learn to fix this. And when you learn to fix this, you're going to get to your dream body and it's going to not feel like you've tried to do it. Because doing all of this is hard. Doing this is easy. But things that are worth attaining never come easy. It takes hard work. You're quite literally breaking the habit of being yourself in order to achieve the body in which you want. That's why people find it so hard. That's why people never change, because they don't understand that it's this and they're constantly trying to paper over it with this. And if you need more help learning to do that, how to rewrite the narrative in which you keep telling yourself, allow your nervous system to accept the body in which you're looking to maintain and build into your life, to rewrite the frequency, to rewrite the identity in which you have about yourself, to naturally bring those things into your existence without struggling, you can apply to work with me. And this is exactly what we do. We learn to allow the body to hold the body in which you're looking to attain, stop that self-sabotage pattern which is occurring through these belief systems in which you've got installed, and that's how you're going to build your dream body with these. So fill in the description. In the top line of the description, there's an application form to work with me. If you fill that in, I'll reach back out. We can help you get there. Without any of this, without destroying your health, through allowing your body to actually accept what it is that you're looking to attain.